The past electioneering period here in Kenya has been posed with a lot of top-down government initiatives versus community-based initiatives. At the bone of contention for this motion today reads, local community-based initiatives in Kenya are more effective in addressing climate change than top-down government policies. I read the motion again. Local community-based initiatives in Kenya are more effective in addressing climate change than top-down government policies. Proposing and opposing this motion is Mbooni girls versus Makueni girls here at the Lower Eastern debates. All the best to both teams. Team proposition, first speaker, you have 3 minutes.
If you know, you know. Well, when there's no purpose, then focus is lost. And that has been the main ailment our government has been suffering from since time immemorial. And that is why we, as a local community, need to stand firm in trying to put across that our initiatives are much better off than the top-down government policies. Well, my name is Mbooni from Mbooni Girls, and I stand here to strongly propose the motion that says that local community-based initiatives in Kenya are more effective in addressing climate change than top-down government policies. What is the local community-based initiative? These are the plans put across by the community in order to solve a certain problem. And what is the climate change? The climate change is the continuous change in temperature and precipitation of a certain area over a certain time. And what are the top-down government? The top-down government is the national government, from the president all the way down to our village elders. Well, according to a research carried out by the Zurich University in January 2012, they were able to verify the fact that if there's no will, then change will not occur. And that is why, since the locals living in the certain area have the context of whatever is happening there, seem to have the context of whatever is happening in the area, then that means that they will be able to bring more effective changes in climate change. For example, in Mbeere Embu County, when the people realized that the adverse greenhouse effect being experienced in their area is due to the burning of plastic, they decided that what about we involve the government in assisting us to be able to build recycling centers? But when the government intervened, it was a total failure. When the people of Mbeere knew that if we continue relying on this government to help us, soon this will become a desert. But when they took it as their own initiative, it is now a total success. Most of you here have gone through the teenage life, and you know very well that whenever one person is forced to do something, they do it so awfully that you never want it to be done again by them. But when it comes from within you, when it comes from your heart, you did so perfectly that people are left wondering, wow, you mean you want to do such a thing? Yes. And that is why I'm here to try to tell you that when the local community do something, it is straight out from their heart. And that is why they are able to become more effective when it comes to changing the climate in our own country, Kenya. For example, in July 13th, after realizing that the people of Marsabit, that is in Kalacha town to be more specific, that they needed a microclimate in their area. They needed to plant trees in order to curb the shortage of rainfall they were observing in their area. And they decided that since this is our area, we don't want to die of hunger. We do not want to die due to very hot temperatures. They decided to plant trees. And my friend, let me tell you something, that if you do not want to find yourselves shipping back to DRC, Congo, and Shungwaya due to greenhouse effects and adverse desertification, you better let the local community initiatives take place. Because you know why? They are the way to go. Thank you.
Thank you very much. First speaker, team opposition, you have 3 minutes.
I do remember back in my years, in 1940s, when we used to have this important visitor, Mr. Rain. We could predict when Mr. Rain could come to us, and whenever it would come, we would be very happy. We considered Mr. Rain as a blessing. But what about nowadays? Mr. Rain hardly comes to us, and when he does, it comes unexpectedly. He leaves us in fear. He creates havoc. I do wonder, what has changed? Well, we all know, climate change, that's what has changed. My name is Rachel Maweu from the Great Makueni Girls, here to strongly oppose the motion that states local community-based initiatives in Kenya are more effective in addressing climate change than top-down government policies. As we all know, climate change is a global issue that requires comprehensive and coordinated action. And according to the United Nations, climate change and the long-term shifts in temperature and weather patterns. What's a policy? State of change adopted or proposed by an organization or an individual. What are initiatives? Approach or attempts to resolve a certain difficulty. The government of Kenya has been doing its best in setting policies that assist in curbing climate change. We may ask, what are some of these policies? Some of these policies that the Kenyan government has undertaken are, we have the Climate Change Act, National Climate Change Action Plan, National Adaptation Plan, Renewable Energy Promotion, Promoting Sustainable Transport. We also have the Forest Conservation and Restoration, among others. Allow me to go deeper into some of these policies. For example, on 27th March 2013, which was on a Wednesday, Kenya launched its National Climate Change Action Plan, where they made policies like increasing renewable electricity, where the government of Kenya is trying to make sure that all rural areas are well distributed with electricity and are part of the national grid. We also see this in the Finance Bill 2023, where the government has made an exception of tax on all renewable sources of energy, and also there's zero taxing on solar batteries. Isn't this an effective example? Well, this plan aims to enhance climate resilience, to reduce greenhouse gas emissions, and also to promote a sustainable development. According to the National Adaptation Plan, which is another policy, government policies align climate change actions with other broader national priorities, such as agriculture, water management, health infrastructure, and disaster risk reduction. Whereas local initiatives may have limited capacity to align their efforts with other national priorities. This states it all. Government policies are more efficient in addressing climate change. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Team Proposition, second speaker, you have 3 minutes.
It is said that light travels faster than the sound. Wait until an idea is voiced out, yet it may seem so bright when it is at far, let alone being voiced out. Wait until it is put into the arms of the government. This is where we introduce the hell in the hello. I stand behind the local community-based initiatives. I say that they know, the local community know, because he who wears the shoe knows where it pinches best. So, from St. Theresa Mbooni Girls, my name is Vanessa Ndungu. A point has been given about the government coming up with many initiatives to help in curbing climate change, like the Forest Conservation Plan. But let me ask you this. Isn't this the same government that gave out a decree 2 weeks ago that the people are free to log, people are free to cut down trees, people are free to cut down our forests? The forests, they are the ones which help in maintaining our cool and wet climates. So what do you want to tell me when you tell me that this is the government that is conserving the forest, yet they are the ones which have given the decree that the forest should be cut down? The local community-based initiatives provide employment to the local people. The government will bring in people from all over Kenya. That is not wrong, of course. But when this local community-based initiative is in the local, it is where it helps the local people, because they know their problems, they know what is happening in the area, because they are on the ground. So they are able to work best in these areas. Like as it was said by Margaret Katilwa of the Kotu Union back in 2020, she said that the union promotes equality among all workers. So when you tell me you want to give the government this priority of taking up the initiatives, they bring people from all over Kenya, people who do not know our problems, people who do not know how we will solve them, because we are the people there. It is easier to know those who are going against the policies. This is because we are on the ground. We know the local community-based initiatives are carried out by the local committees. The committees that are in the area, they know, they can be able to manage, they can be able to look at how these local community-based initiatives, the projects, how they're being handled. But what about the government? We are leaving the fate of our land, the fate of our climate to people who are seated in luxurious offices, in glass-walled offices, seated behind shiny mahogany desks lounging on their chairs, and we expect them to give us our answers. I say the locals know, the locals are actually there. The local communities are well versed with the problem and what is needed to drive the change. For example, in Murang'a County, the year 2013, the 2023, sorry. The government wanted to initiate a dam there, and they refused because they know the state of their soil profiles, and they know what is affecting them. So, as St. Theresa Mbooni girls, we are here to say that local community-based initiatives will drive and effect the climate change solution in Kenya. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Second speaker, Team Opposition, you have 3 minutes.
Did you see that climate change is getting a lot more on the news nowadays? You could say it's a hot topic to talk about worldwide, right? But you seriously said that local-based community initiatives in Kenya are more effective in addressing climate change more than top-down government policies. Well, I strongly dissent to this statement. Ladies and gentlemen, let me get your eyes popping with the truth and allow me to take you to the world of reality and save you from the world of fantasy. Primrose Mbooni, Makueni girls. To the second proposal, the second proposal said that the government lifted the ban on logging. Yes, the government lifted the ban on logging, but it does not mean it lifted the policy on cut 1, plant 2. Because of the many uses of trees, we cannot stop cutting down trees completely. For that matter, for every tree we cut down, we should plant 1 or 2. That way, it's a win-win situation. To my first point, the government possesses legislative power, enabling them to enact binding regulations and laws that drive sustainable practices. For example, according to an article by Nature Kenya, the government made a policy, cut 1, plant 2, and whoever disobeys this policy was gonna get punished or even arrested. Let me give you an effective example. During the midterm break, a man was arrested for cutting down trees, and he was fined lots of money due to this illegal action. Well, isn't the government doing an incredible job trying to curb climate change? Well, it's absolutely doing an incredible job. Kenya is among the first countries in Africa to enact comprehensive law and policy to guide national and subnational climate actions. Examples of these actions the government has done to curb climate change are: 1. Setting emission standards. 2. Imposing carbon pricing mechanisms. And 3. Implementing renewable energy targets. Few examples of these renewable energy projects, which are in line with the SDG number 7, are solar panels, windmills, and geothermal power, so on and so forth. This helps in reducing greenhouse emissions and decrease dependence on fossil fuels. It's so unfortunate, the local community-based initiative, because they may lack the authority and legal mechanisms to enforce such changes. Moreover, the government can tap into a wealth of expertise and knowledge from scientists, researchers, and international organization policies. This ensures evidence-based decisions in climate and access to the latest advancements in climate change. Local community initiatives may have limited access to such resources. The government's decent work relates to the SDG number 8 that talks of decent work and economic growth. The government does a lot more than the local-based community initiatives. And with that, I rest my case. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Third speaker, Team Proposition, you have 3 minutes.
For how long? For how long will we keep on giving people our problems to solve? When are we ever going to man up and face our problems ourselves? My name, Annette Wafula. So you've talked about the government logging trees, and you've talked about the government putting in a policy of plant 1, cut 1, plant 2. Well, I do not know how this is possible. You say they arrested one man, when yet the rate of corruption in Kenya is increasingly. This is after a study done by the Transparency Agency of Corruption. And Kenya has been found to be ranking high in rate of corruption. So I do not know how they'll be catching one man when 10 men are running away with these cut trees. This will only increase desertification in our country, Kenya. When all these trees are cut, lifting logging is a poor way way of showing how much our government is not handling this crisis. They do not see the stake, the problem at hand. They see climate as something mere, as something not to be considered. Well, I'm here to prove that the government should not be given this project because the local-based initiatives know better how to handle this problem. Because we have seen local initiatives like the project started by Wangari Maathai in the year 1977. She started with no government funds, with no government foreign interest or diplomatic relationships. She did it on her own. I say that if we have the determination, if we have the passion and the drive to change our climate, we can do it. Because she started it on her own and she was able to attract this government foreign interest that you're talking about, funds. She was able to get them on their own. And without that, we can see how her project helped our country impactly because they increased the rate of planting of trees in our country from a 3% to a 10%. This is because she worked with passion, what we cannot see in our government. Our government works in projects where they can find interest because this is a body that needs money, that needs tax, that needs income. How is the project going to invest in something that it knows surely it will not get income? Because, for example, a Baringo project that started in the year 2017, they did it on local-based initiatives, and they were done with it in 3 weeks, compared to Mombasa County that had a project started by the government on 2019. We're in 2023, and they're barely done with it. So if you're trusting this government to cater and solve this problem on climate, well, I think you're wrong, and you should reconsider your thoughts. Another thing is that they've talked about Mr. Rain not being coming all these recent years. But why? If I may ask, why is it not coming? Isn't them who are placing policies that make this Mr. Rain not come? If they increase logging and make it official, where I can come in, cut as much trees as I want, and since corruption is something that is normal in Kenya, I can freely walk out. I am not speaking ill of the government, but is this the same government that is increasing taxation in our country on basic needs, food necessity that we need, is going to handle a barely secondary need, climate? Well, I think you should reconsider. Do you want to be a reason why our country's aridity rate is high? Do you want to be a reason why our children do not have a place to call home? Thank you.
Thank you very much. Third speaker, Team Opposition, you have 3 minutes.
Well, my lips might be dry, but my points ain't dry. Assalamu alaikum, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Blessing Acheng from Brigade Makueni Girls, and I'm here to oppose the motion that states local community-based initiatives in Kenya are more effective in addressing climate change than top-down government policies. Without wasting much of your time, I will start by correcting the third proposal. You say 10 men can come and cut down those trees. But where are those 10 men coming from? Aren't they coming from the local community? Anyway, you are saying 10 are running. Where are they coming from? That's my great concern. You talked of Wangari Maathai. You talked of how she came up, she funded herself until getting to this point in this mission. But according to Kenyan News Agency, on September 6, 2019, the County Chief Officer for Environment and Natural Resources, Mr. Gatirian Jagi, said the county government will provide proper free seedlings for afforestation and reforestation. Well, ladies and gentlemen, why am I supporting these government policies? Because the policies they're implementing are one of the best policies. And why are they doing so? They are helping us. Why are they arresting these people? They know that the fact that when trees are missing from our country, when trees are missing, there will be no attraction of rainfall. Well, implemented programs to conserve and restore the forests, which play a crucial role in mitigating climate change. Well, ladies and gentlemen, some key policies that the government has undertaken in curbing this enemy, this monster we are calling climate change, is the Act of 2016, which provides a legal framework for addressing climate change in Kenya, and it establishes legal basis for climate change. When you're saying the government isn't doing anything, I feel so hard. But probably you said the government is not effective in addressing this. Well, there is something you have forgotten. You may have forgotten that the government is trying its best, but I've come here to remind you. Blessing Acheng, Makueni girls, thank you. I rest my case.
Thank you very much to both teams. We will be taking closing remarks. Team Proposition, you have 1 minute to give your closing remark.
Basing our conclusion on the Sustainable Development Goals of the UN, SDG number 13, climate action, SDG number 14, life below water, SDG number 15, life on land. These are all sectors that are greatly affected by climate change. We are not here to demonize the government. We are not here to deny that the government has power, that it does. We are here to say that, would you leave the future of your children? Would you leave the future of Kenya on such an irresponsible government? How many cases have we noted about corruption, about the government? They are embezzling their own funds, that they are funding their own projects, and still they are continuing with embezzlement. Would you leave your future? Would you leave your children? Would you leave your country to such a government? We are here to say that local community-based initiatives will be effective. This is because we are the people, we know ourselves, we know our problems, and we know what is affecting us. We know how to bring changes to our climate. So, as St. Theresa Mbooni girls, we stand behind the local community-based initiatives, saying that they are the solution. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Team Opposition, you have 1 minute to give your closing remark.
Well, as we said, climate change is a comprehensive and coordinated action that requires a lot of great concern. Climate change is not limited to local or community boundaries. This is something that is affecting the whole nation at large. Are you trying to tell us if you try to impose a solution on one community or one local community, it will affect the whole nation? Well, it's a no. The government of Kenya addresses this thing and this climate change at a wider, and also trying to put in other national priorities. As we said, the National Adaptation Plan aligns climate change actions with broader national priorities such as agriculture, water management, health infrastructure, and disaster risk reduction. Local initiatives have limited capacity to align their efforts with national priorities. Government policies address climate change and also benefits the entire population compared to the local initiatives. And this is why we are saying that the government policies are doing it much better. Thank you.
This was a very interesting debate. I actually learned a lot, just as Jen said, the things that I've had here for the first time, which is really good because everyone can always learn from someone. So I'm just going to give specific comments. I'm going to start with the proposers, and I'm going to start with Anna Muthoka. You're a very, very good debater, which I feel set the pace for the rest of the people. I like how you gave your explanations and how you pointed out local examples, which is very important as local community is part of the debate topic. I, however, would have wanted to know how the Mbere project was a success. You mentioned that it was done, so I'd have wanted to know how it was a success, because the only way you prove that local community projects are working is to show us the results at the end of it. For Vanessa, first of all, I'd like to say I think you handled the inconvenience that happened very well. So, and then the rebuttal was good. I like that you gave recent examples, and your general way of talking made so much sense, and it was very coherent. For Annette, very good rebuttal on what the second opposer had said, and also on giving examples of how government projects and their history and how they've failed. I like that you brought in Wangari Maathai. I was waiting for someone to bring that out because she's very well known for local projects in Kenya. Yeah, and that's it. So for the opposers, I'll start with Rachel Maweu. Yes, Rachel Maweu. Very, very good terms definition. That was excellent. I also like that you presented the policies that have been put up in place, which is very good. But what I'd have wanted to see more from you was the results of the policies. Again, just as I've said to the proposers, the only way that you prove a policy or a local project is working is by showing results. So I'd have wanted to see an example with statistics, because for policies, whether government or NGOs, once they get the results, they're usually listed in websites and numbers are given and figures are given. So it would have been really nice to see numbers, which shows results. Primrose, thank you for listing out the SDGs. It's almost impossible to hear a climate change conversation without listing the SDGs. So thank you for listing out that and bringing out the policy of cut one tree and plant 2 trees. I think that was also very important. So overall, I'd say good rebuttal and good presentation. And lastly is Blessing. She brought out the aspect of legal frameworks which have been put up by the government, which is good, but I'd like you to improve on your coherence. There's at some point I didn't see point 1 and point 2 really merging together, but otherwise I think everyone did a very good job.
Yes, oh my, that was a nice one. Both teams coming out guns blazing, shooting from the hip, not leaving any prisoners. Very good use of, very good passion and conviction could be felt. Your coherency of argument broadly stood out for both teams. General comments is, please, both teams, you need to broaden your examples base. Don't only limit your examples to Kenya. Go global. Come to Africa, come to Kenya. So that needs to come out if you're to score highly for mastery of content. Then for the proposers, the main focus here on the efficacy. You know, the motion is local community initiatives in Kenya are more effective. So what you needed to bring out strongly, which my fellow judge has said, is how effective were these government-initiated projects. That needed to come out, and it did not really come out so strongly. Annette, who stood out in the proposer's side, brought out a tact which was very strong, that bit of the locals starting their own projects and then getting sponsorship, such that it's not only locals alone who are working on this. That came out with Annette, and it gave her a bonus mark. Otherwise, may the most outstanding team take it home. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Round of applause, please, for the judges. We must say it's been a close one for both teams, but we have come to the end of this debate, and I will go straight ahead with the results. The judges have awarded Makueni girls with 66%. A round of applause, please, for Makueni girls. And the judges have awarded St. Theresa Mbooni girls with 69%. A round of applause for St. Theresa Mbooni girls. And the winner of this debate is St. Theresa Mbooni girls. And thank you very much to both teams. We have come to the end of this debate. And until next time, it is goodbye from us here at the Debate Circle. I have been your host, Jaina Ching. Remember to check our social media handle for more of this content, whether it's debate or other forms of content, at the Debate Circle, on YouTube, on Twitter, on Instagram, on LinkedIn, and on Threads. And it's kwaheri from us.